third meeting. Every third meeting, we try to have open discussion because we realize that some of the value of a support group like this is sharing information, recommendations, referrals, and experiences. So this is a totally open meeting, open discussion meeting today, other than some announcements and a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to start with, if you will show the agenda, please, Judd. Just so people get an idea of the timing and you can plan accordingly. We're at the beginning, of course, and in a minute, I'm going to ask Judd to do a quick review of the chat feed, because we found that in asking the questions, especially in an open discussion, that it's easier sometimes if people put their question in the chat, or you can always raise your hand. But if there's a more than one screen, it sometimes is hard for me as moderator to see them. So my compatriots will be helping, and I will try to sort of line them up with a cue saying, okay, Shauna will be next, and then Bernie has a question, so you can sort of prep that way. After he reviews the chat, we're going to ask new members joining us for the first time today to introduce themselves, perhaps give a little overview of their PN journey, what they've been diagnosed with, if they would care to share it, and where they're located. Because of Zoom, we have people from all over the country, which is terrific. And if we say where you're speaking from, that helps give us some context. Then we're going to, after that few minutes, well, not few minutes, a half an hour, I would like each of the new members who are comfortable with sharing to say a little bit. And we will not be, hopefully, taken as rude if we say, you've had 10 minutes, we're going to move on to another person, and we'll get back to you later, so that each person has a chance to speak. Then at 2:45, we'll take a break so that people can get a drink, stretch, move, whatever they need to do. And then we will be back for the rest of the open discussion section until 3:45. Then I will be doing some announcements and updates, and finally the wrap up. So that is our idea, and I think we have about 27 people, which is a wonderful number. And we are going to move to Judd, who will go over the chat feature for those who may not be sure what I'm talking about in terms of typing questions into the chat. Judd?
Okay. This is the spot on the program where we try to get a little more, clever with our devices. The first is, if you're on a laptop or a desktop, down at the bottom, there's a row of little tools down there, and one of them says chat. If you go to chat, I'm going to open that up. Now, you can't see that, but I can. And it displays information that's being given live. For example, there's a note in there right now that says new to Mayo Clinic, and Pat just put in a Mayo Clinic URL, a web address in there. And then other people, can put in various things that they need to put in. That would be names of medicines or compounds, names of doctors, your own name, websites that you find helpful, and so forth. We're just kind of following the rhythm of the meeting when we do that. And at the end, we will ask you to save chat to your computer, and then we will also save it ourselves and then make it available on our website. So the chat, we want this to become more available and more useful to you as we roll along. Now, if you're on a phone, if you're on an iPhone or just a cell phone, you can look down at the bottom. You don't have that many controls because the screen is very small, but there is an ellipse, the three dots horizontal dots down there. If you click on that, that's where the chat is, and it works the same way. You click, and you can see it in your screen, and then you click off to go away from it. You just keep going at it. On an iPad, it's above the your Zoom screen, so it's in the opposite place of where you thought it was going to be on the iPhone. Once you get used to that, it's okay. It'll be the same in there every time. Does anybody have a question on that?
Jed, would you explain everyone and direct messages in chat?
Explain what?
The drop-down menu of everyone versus a direct message between
Oh,
two.
yeah, right.
Oh, okay. Well, let me show you then. I'm going to share my desktop. Can everybody see my desktop?
Yes.
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 Okay. Now, right here is your chat on a desktop. There it is. And it will make a screen pop up over here. See how it disappeared? And now, whoop, I'll make it appear again.
You're
That's
not
your
sharing
chat.
the chat. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So this is the chat screen. It will just scroll down as our meeting continues. And that's important to know. Your chat, if you want to talk to everybody on this call, just leave it as everybody. That sends a message to all the participants. But if you just want to chat to one person, if you want to tell them we're having drinks over here at 5 or whatever, then you just go down the list here and click on, let's say, Ed Lees or Glenn Rabowski. I can just send one message to Glenn, and then I can't send one message to Glenn and someone else, Laura, for example, but I can send one message to Glenn about something. Let's say last meeting he gave a special condition and I forgot what it was. Now I want to communicate with Glenn, and so that's the way that goes. But you have to remember to turn it back to everyone in the meeting if you want to communicate with everyone. And we like to know when you sign off. If you have to go early, that's fine, of course, but just let us know, that you had to leave a little early, and we'll expect you next time. Also, if you we don't want to give away emails unless you want to. We tried to protect your email, your privacy. So if you want to ask somebody for something, like say somebody 20 minutes ago mentioned this thing and you forgot to put it in here, you can always just ask them. So you can just ask them to send you a private message with their email or their message, and then you'll have that information. And even when we put the chat on the website, we always try to eliminate the names of members. We keep the names of executive team. We try to eliminate the name of members, just putting in initials so that we can protect your privacy. If you don't care about privacy, that's great. We're fine with that, and we'll publicize that information because, of course, we are a support group. That's what we do here. And it's real nice when somebody just says, I want everybody to know about this. I'll send you this article. I want to chat. I'm available if you want to know more about this, that sort of thing. So I believe that's it, Pat.
Yes, I think that's true. I think the other thing that I want to mention right now is that there's a reference in the agenda to overtime. And what that is that officially the meeting will end at 4 o'clock. However, we always allow for extra time if the discussion is still going on and people are still interested and would like to stay on beyond 4 o'clock, you're certainly welcome to. That part will not be recorded. Therefore, if Shauna wants to ask somebody specifically about a treatment that they've undergone, she can stay later and she could write in the chat, I'm going to stay at 4 o'clock. Would you join me and we can talk further or exchange emails or whatever at that time. So those are your two opportunities. You can share information by going direct messaging in chat, or you can stay after to continue your discussion with other people that might have piqued your interest or you have a further question about. And the last thing I will say is that if you go to participants and click on participants, it tells the names of everyone in alphabetical order. So you should be able to find someone's name. And if you go to the right and click on more, we do ask you to rename yourself if you just have a phone number, only because it's easier to call on you, obviously, with a name rather than saying, would 703 please ask their question, whatever. So that is our housekeeping information. And I did a practice direct message to Glenn, asking him to share Western Neuropathy Association's meetings times. So that's an example. And Shauna just put something in chat also to everyone. So those are two different versions, a direct message to just one person, Glenn, and then Shauna went on to everyone. Okay, I promise not to talk too much, so we're going to move on to introductions of our new members, those who are joining us for the first time today. I'm very pleased that CJ, for example, has CJ Holiday, you may know him. He runs a support group out of North Carolina, and he has sort of decided that he needed to close his group because it was getting too large for additional people. So he's been sending me referrals or names of people like Patrick today, asking them to let them join us or send the link to them. So I know Patrick is new, and I'm wondering if there are other people today who are joining us for the first time, if you would raise your hand so we sort of know. Is Effie? Welcome, Effie. Good to see you. Is there anyone else that is new? Okay, we're gonna, Bob Hanson. Welcome, Bob. So we're gonna hear first from Effie, then Patrick, and then Bob. Okay, if you will go ahead, Patrick, if you would like to tell us whatever you'd want to share about your PN journey and any questions, comments, or whatever you would like to ask.
Okay, will that be me or Effie?
No, you, Patrick.
Okay, me, okay. Well, I guess first thing I have to say is that if I'm telling you some things and I get kind of confused, I do that a lot lately. So
We understand.
yeah, well, everything started, real long story short, everything started for me November 11th of 2021 when I took a bad fall, getting out of the shower and broke a bunch of ribs in my back. From there, everything kind of went downhill. I was at the time, I was 74, almost 75 years old. I can't remember, 76 now. Anyway, it was actually almost a couple months, not quite a couple months, when I started actually getting the neuropathy in my body. And a lot of my doctors that I've been to see, which includes pain management people, neurologists, neurosurgeons, a number of different doctors. There's at least 5 or 6 more that are included in one way or another. But anyway, they all say this is number one idiopathic, this whole issue with the PN. And so they don't know where it came from, or they don't. I think it had something to do with the fall, but I don't know. I'm supposed to be listening to them, I guess. A lot of them kind of doubt that. Anyway, sure, coincidental, but the pain is, it started off as tingling in my feet and legs mostly, and arms somewhat. And it continued to get worse as it went. It became less tingling and more burning, and like pins and needles. They got quite painful. Then I found out through some MRIs and some other issues that I had spinal stenosis also. That came from possibly, I mean, just age, but also they did tell me that the fall could have jarred that to, cause an issue now rather than a little later. The peripheral neuropathy was finally diagnosed through some procedures, tests, biopsies actually, that said I have small fiber neuropathy. And believe it or not, to this day, and I've been into this thing for well over a year now, I don't really totally understand small fiber neuropathy, except for it's just my nerve endings and nerves themselves are eroded and don't work like they're supposed to. I've tried a number of things. I mean, the pain, I'm having a little bit of pain right now. It's not terribly bad this morning, but yesterday I had a terrible day, absolutely horrid day. I couldn't hardly stand up. And anyway, but I'm having some right now. But I've tried some physical therapy. I've tried some meditation, of course, meditation and medication. I haven't tried acupuncture, but I've tried a lot of stuff. I'm thinking about a procedure called SCS, if some of you know what that is. I'll get more in depth to that later on, just mention it now. And they've also talked about back surgery for the spinal stenosis.
Right.
So I'm a little frustrated, or maybe I could say very frustrated. And the pain continues. It seems to get worse all the time. I'm taking more of the opioid medication than I want to, but the pain still keeps coming, and nothing seems to have helped me so far. So, I guess one of the major things that I would like to hear from other people, and I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be now, but along the way here, is that if they experience some of the same things I am, and maybe what some of the things they're doing to alleviate some of the pain, or some of the procedures that are possible, that sort of thing. Anyway, I'm just happy. I think I actually cut it off up there. I don't know if I'm at 10 minutes yet, but I'm getting up there. So I should probably cut it off. And I guess that's enough information for now. I'm sure things will
Patrick,
click
where
in my
did you
mind
say
as I
you're
listen.
from?
So, pardon me?
Where did you say you're from?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say that, did I? I'm from, actually, it's Portland, Oregon. I'm about 6 miles from the border of the city of Portland, but it's all considered metropolitan Portland. I mean, I've lived here all my life. But we're about, I don't know if you know what the Columbia River is, but we're about 2 miles from the Columbia River.
Patrick, would you explain SCS? It's difficult when people use letters, and it would be helpful to understand what that reference.
SCS is spinal
Cord
Smi-
stimulator.
boy, what am I
Spinal
looking
cord
at?
stimulator.
Now I'm having one of those blank.
Okay, Patrick, I think it's a spinal cord stimulator.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
That's what I was trying to come up with. And actually, I just heard about it just a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And so I've been talking to the neurosurgeon about it and to the pain specialist. I got a meeting Monday with the pain specialist, discuss it some more. But I have some concerns about it too. Reading, Googling and reading a lot of websites about the procedure and what the effects are and the downsides and that sort of thing. So that's kind of an overview of what it is, but it's certainly enough. It has to do with, they put a monitor in your back and some leads into your spine
Right.
to change the message the brain is getting from the body.
Patrick, Shauna just very helpfully put up a URL for Hopkins, and it's specific to treating pain with spinal cord stimulators. Johns Hopkins here in Baltimore, Maryland. So you might want to click on that after the meeting or even now. We might have another minute or two if anyone would like to respond to Patrick specifically about a spinal cord stimulator, if you've had experience with it. Chuck,
I've got,
No, I haven't.
go ahead.
would anyone like to say anything? Ed, see here we have Ed. Ann, is it Ann Edwards? I'm sorry. You need to unmute. You need to unmute.
Sorry,
There you go.
it's Mary Jo Edwards. I can't seem to get my first name up there.
Okay,
Yeah, I've been a member of the group for about 4 years now. Anyway, I do have a spinal cord stimulator. It was implanted in 2018.
wow.
The surgeon told me that most people get them for back pain. They implanted one for my neuropathy. I would say it helps just a teeny bit, but not, I'm disappointed in the results of this stimulator.
Okay,
That's all I can really say. It hasn't helped that much. And I have
Can you-
burning pain and numbness. I have both symptoms of peripheral neuropathy, burning pain and numbness. The numbness bothers me more actually than the burning pain.
Now, see, I'm just
But
the
I have both.
opposite.
I have
Yeah.
both.
I'm just the opposite. The burning pain bothers me more than numbness, but could you
Okay,
tell me which
okay.
company the SCS
Medtronics.
Medtronics? Okay,
Mhm.
mine was Abbott, so
Okay, I'm from Northern
Mhm.
Virginia, by the way.
Northern
Right outside
Virginia?
of DC. Yeah, right out about 20 miles outside of DC.
Oh, my daughter
Yeah.
lived in, I can't think of the name of the town. Anyway, Fairfax. She lived in
Fairfax.
Fairfax for a while. Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, I
but I just-
apologize, Mary Jo. I could not think of your first name.
But
so-
that's okay, no
Very good.
problem. That's no problem. All
All
right,
right.
I'm gonna mute now. Mhm.
Okay, we are going to move on to Effie, and if other people have comments or we have additional time, Patrick may ask more specific questions, but we're going to give Effie a chance now. Welcome, Effie.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay, my name is Effie Stahl-Smith. I live in Arlington, Virginia. I'm 81 years old. I've had neuropathy for the last 5 years. I have small fiber neuropathy as well as intercostal, which means it is throughout my entire body. I have numbness and burning pain, and sometimes, and I have to say I've had 40 surgeries, including 5 spinal surgeries and a rib and a half removed. And after those surgeries, I thought I would get a little better, but
Oh,
I haven't. It's all right. I've gone through surgery, as we know. I have a neurologist, I have a surgeon, I have a pain management. I have undergone physical therapy, pain and acupuncture and medications. I've lost the use of my right leg 3 times now, but we've been able to get it back through medication and prednisone and injections in my lower spine. Let's see. I don't know, at present time, my neurologist has me trying a medicine called methocarbamol.
mhm. Methocarbamol.
Yes. So I've only been on it for 3 days, but it gives you severe heartburn, and I find my hands are swollen in the morning, but it does go away after a while. But I guess I'll stay on it. I'm going to try to cut this prescription in half, the pill in half, and see if that helps. And I guess that's my story. Just working through
Well,
it.
that's quite a story. You have been through a lot. Do you feel confident in your medical team? Do you feel that all of the surgery and everything that you've tried has been coordinated? It makes me a little nervous when you say you're going to cut your dosage in half. I hope that's with your doctors.
Yes, it's okay because they're trying to find, I've been on so many different medications that we're trying to find one that will help some. This one does help. But it doesn't do away with the pain. I guess when you have neuropathy, you're never really pain-free, but it seems to ease it enough so that I feel comfortable doing, every day.
Was the methylcarbamol prescribed for GERD or was it prescribed?
No, it was for my neuropathy.
Okay,
I don't have GERD, but I might get it now, I guess.
all right. That's why I was concerned about your severe heartburn.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a comment or response to Effie?
Oh, I just wanted to say that thank you for this group because I went onto the website and I really learned a lot. I wish I had known about it later. I have a friend at our church that has a friend that connected me with the group. So thank you for having this.
Meredith has a comment or
Okay.
response.
Yes, hi, Effie, welcome. I'm
Thank
glad you're here. I just wanted to mention, I do have GERD and I got an autoimmune illness last year, so I had to go on prednisone, and prednisone really affects the stomach too. So there may be several things going on at once there. That's all I'm.
Yeah. I've had prednisone. I do pretty well with take it. Usually has me when I've lost the use of my leg to take it for 2.5 days. And for some reason, I seem to bounce back, but yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Good.
But I've been in the hospital. Let's say I had 2 operations last year. But I have to say I have a knee replaced, both hips replaced twice, and 5 spine operations. And so, but I'm still here and I'm 81 and I'm still going. So you can live with neuropathy.
Excuse me, could you put the name of that medication in the chat room, please?
Sure.
The medication you just started.
Methylcarbamol. I think
Right.
I already did, by the way.
you
I
did?
put that
Okay.
Effie
Oh,
is trying
okay.
methylcarbamol. Yep, I'll
Okay,
put some
thank
more
you.
information on it too.
Thank you.
Methylcarbamol.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a muscle relaxant primarily.
Right. Yeah. I have a problem with tensing up. And I guess probably most of you do with neuropathy. You tend to tense up and that really makes your pain worse if you think about it.
Well,
absolutely.
do you have numbness also? Do you have
Oh, yeah,
numbness?
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Okay.
Through my back, through my stomach, through, it's just, yeah. And
Okay.
burning.
All right, we're going to then move on to Bob Hanson. Welcome, Bob. If you will unmute. You need to unmute, Bob. Oh, dear.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh,
Not yet.
there you are.
No,
We can't hear you. Bob. Let's see.
Bob, it
He
looks
was-
like you're unmuted, but your microphone's not working. It looks like there's some sort of issue with it connecting.
You increase your volume on your microphone. That's difficult.
Oh,
While we wait, I just mentioned that there are controls on the screen, on the Zoom screen for you to test to see whether or not your microphone is working or not. Not a bad idea to try it out. I find that sometimes
Oh.
my system is configured wrong.
Oh, now Bob, you accidentally muted yourself, so it's not gonna work at all. So next to your microphone, there should be a way to go to audio settings or something of that nature, at least on PC, on a laptop or something like that. I'm not sure how it is without that.
Right now, Bob.
Automatically adjust microphone volume setting. You want to make sure that's on.
Using internal mic.
Not using the right mic because
While we're waiting, I mentioned that Bob's been associated with helping people with peripheral neuropathy for many years. I forgot what the details are, but he worked with another group. I think, Bob, were you the group with you with the
Someone who may be helping him.
I think Bob worked with a group to try to get a group started with the Veterans Administration in Baltimore. I hope that's the correct. My memory's working.
Well, we would definitely like to hear about that.
Hey, Pat,
Yes.
did somebody say a moment ago that they were looking at spinal stenosis surgery?
Yes,
I considered that I asked my back surgeon about that a number of years ago. He didn't think it would do anything for me, basically, maybe a little bit, but not a whole lot. It wasn't worth the surgery in my case.
Mhm. I'm glad you added in my case. This is always a caveat, a disclaimer here that each
Right.
person is so
Just for me.
individualized. Yes, so individualized with their particular PN issues. Right now, I'm trying to decide about back surgery for a facet cyst. So if anyone has a strong opinion about that, I would love to know.
Oh, no.
And Mary Jo,
Oh, hold on.
yes. You need to unmute Mary Jo.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there you are.
There you go.
Oh, okay, here, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, right. I had spinal stenosis surgery about 7 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And the surgeon was thinking that that could help my peripheral neuropathy, but unfortunately it did not.
Right.
So but I still needed to have it because of a back issue, you
Right.
know.
Right. Did you
So-
have fusion at the time? I'm just
I
curious.
did, yes.
And did it at least alleviate the back pain, which is chronic?
Yeah, yes, yes. But they were hoping it would also help with my peripheral neuropathy,
Right.
but unfortunately it did not, so.
I think I've heard that more often than not, that it didn't.
Right.
Let me interrupt and ask if you can hear me now.
Yes.
Yes, Bob, great.
I found it. This thing was set for a headset, a
Oh,
Good
Logitech headset.
for
So I'll shut up and
perseverance.
you, Brenda, you can finish your saying.
Yeah. Mary Jo, are you finished? I'm sorry.
oh, she's on mute now.
Okay, then go ahead, Bob, please.
Okay, I joined a PN group out of Annandale, Virginia several years ago. But I guess the past 2 years, I haven't been participating, so I don't know whether in which group I'm in, the one that was originally in Annandale or one that split off from that. But hi, everybody. I'm
Welcome.
in Ellicott City, Maryland, which is about 10 miles west of Baltimore.
Mhm.
I was diagnosed with neuropathy, I think about 4 or 5 years ago. Compared to everybody else, my neuropathy is very light. The only thing I suffer from is the burning and my toes and balls of my feet feel like they're burning in a bucket of crushed ice. If I don't, the medication I'm taking is gabapentin.
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking 3,000 units out of a maximum daily unit of 3,600, and it does pretty good for me. It pops up at night when I get in bed sometimes and lay down, but I go to sleep right over the pain.
Have you had side effects? I know that's been a concern.
I have no side effects whatsoever. I've had about 4 doctors, come to me to question side effects attendant to gabapentin, but I suffer from none of them.
I have a
Excellent.
question. Bob, did you work up to 3,000? Or did
Yes.
you start, how did that go?
It went fine. I worked up to the 3,000 because I would get to a point where at night I wasn't able to go to sleep. So I'd complain about it. They'd increase the dose. It would handle it for a while. And then, again, I couldn't go to sleep. They finally got me up to the 3,000, and that controls the neuropathy fine. I feel it all day, but on a pain level scale, it's only about 1.5 or 2 at most.
Excellent.
And
This is
it's
a
only
good
there if I
segue.
think about it.
This is a good segue in the reference in the chat that I wrote earlier about the Mayo Clinic Connect. This is basically a public forum, but it is moderated by Mayo Clinic. And you join and you choose the support groups that you're interested in. And I'm in the chronic pain and in the neuropathy group and the hearing issues group. And for example, one of the questions that just came up in the forum was gabapentin versus pregabalin Lyrica. And people, again, share their information based on their experience with it. And I find it very helpful to read. Now, I know that, again, these are people talking to people. These are not doctors. They're not medical opinions, but it is in the sharing sometimes that you learn a question that you might want to ask your doctor, your medical team, or someone in a group like this. So the link is in the chat if you're interested in joining it, just to see what it entails and the kinds of topics that are considered. I know there was a whole conversation thread on spinal cord stimulators, for example. And Glenn, you have a comment in the chat that there's also, is it Graylease, which is time released. Would you like to comment on that?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, just I wanted to throw that in, that there is constantly the discussion about gabapentin versus Lyrica. Lyrica obviously is a lot more expensive. Gabapentin, now there are many cheaper versions of it. You don't have to get obviously the name brand, you can get the generics. But Graylease, for people who have trouble tolerating Lyrica, which is certainly some minority of people out there, Graylease is a time-released form of gabapentin. These drugs are unusual in that they're metabolized through the kidneys, not the liver. They're among the few drugs that actually work that way. The half-life of gabapentin is approximately 4 to 6 hours, but the formulation for Graylease makes it last about twice as long from the reports that we have. And that seems to help people who have trouble with their gabapentin dosages losing effectiveness sooner than they're supposed to take their next dose.
Hello,
My,
I'd like to share something with you.
Excuse me, if we could identify by name if we're speaking, because
Can you
otherwise.
hear me?
just
Ricky,
voice. Ricky,
yes.
and then Bernie and Brenda have their hands up next. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I would like to share some equipment that has really benefited me as far as burning and numbing in my foot. One of them, I put it on the chat line. The first one, I mean, the equipment is not cheap. I mean, they're about $1,000 a piece, but it has really helped me. The first one is called RebuilderMedical.com. And it's a bucket with a little machine that has 2 prongs that goes into the water. And you put your feet in it and turn the prongs to, you start feeling the sensation in your foot. And I have been doing that for about a month. And I mean, every day is just getting better and better.
Wow, that's
So,
excellent.
I want to share. And then another one I put in the chat is called Bedrock Bioscience. And that's like a light pad. And you just put your feet in that, and that's around that. Once again, they're not cheap, but it's better than taking the medicine if you can, do without. And I don't have to take any medicine or anything. I just changed my diet. I use these 2 machines twice a day. One in the morning, one in the afternoon. And I would highly recommend anyone who's having problems with burning or foot issues or poor blood circulation to try the one called rebuildermedical.com. Go to rebuildermedical.com.
That
Okay,
is in the
thanks.
chat. And who prescribed these, or is it a prescription, or how did you learn of them?
I went, I was trying other things other than taking gabapentin and the medicine. So I decided to go to an integrative medicine place called Living Healthy Integrative Medicine in Annapolis, Maryland.
Okay,
And they try to get me on this $18,000 plan to do 6 months of treatment, all of that, blah, blah, blah. But part of that plan was these two machines. So I told them, well, let me try these two machines since my main issue was my foot and poor blood circulation, where I was, the pains in my foot. And I tell you, I am too happy. I'm too happy with it, so something for people who have foot issues or poor blood circulations to try. And once again, I put it in the chat, but if you want me to say it again, I can tell you the names of them, but just go to rebuildermedical.com for one, and the other one is called bedrockbioscience.com. And they, you can see the different equipment they have, and it cost me $2,000, but it's, to me right now, it was worth every penny.
great. Thank
So
you
I just
for
wanted to
sharing
share
that. Is there a response to Ricky's comment about the equipment?
Well, what does it do? Does it improve blood circulation?
Yes, that's exactly what they do. So if you change your diet, which I did, and I would imagine everybody's doing that here. So I changed my diet, and I just, like I say, I just soak my feet in one. If you go to the websites that I told you about, you'll be able to see the different ones. And the model I have, I would really recommend, because I've tried both, I would really go with the rebuildermedical.com, go with that one first, because the light pads seem to be working, but I am positive the one where you soak you put your feet in it, and has like a little box no bigger than a cigarette pack, and has two prongs that go into the water and a dial on it, and you turn the dial to till you feel a sensation in your feet.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that has worked tremendously. My pain is really starting to go away in my foot.
Is it like ultrasonic or something else?
Yes, you got it. Yes, exactly what it is. But you can call the company, and they are very nice, and they're very helpful to tell you what you need to do, because it's this liquid that comes with it, and it's only like $7 a bottle that you spray in the bucket before you put the two prongs in. But
Okay.
I highly recommend anyone who's having foot problems or poor blood circulation to look into those two machines. Definitely the rebuildermedical.com one.
So worth looking at the website. I
Yes.
said Bernie is next. Bernie Schmidt.
Yeah, I have two questions back to Bob on the gabapentin. He mentioned 1,000 milligrams, I think, or 3,000 milligrams. What is the maximum dosage you can take of that? I'm on 3 times 800 right now.
It's 3,600 is the maximum.
3,600 is the max? Okay.
Yeah,
And
I
second,
have, my dosage is 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, and 3, 8 or 1,800 an hour before bedtime.
And
1 in
Bob,
the
how
morning,
much, Bob? I
1
mean,
in the morning, but no specified time, 1 in the evening, but no specified time. And at
Okay.
bedtime, an hour before bedtime, 1,800.
okay, because my pain breaks through within an hour of getting in bed, and it's so bad that I'm up every night within an hour of getting in bed, and I'm using topicals of capsaicin and lidocaine, both on my feet, and taking a Tylenol or 2, and that seems to finally allow me to get to sleep maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's not too desirable. That's kind of where I am. Secondly, have you got something on the website concerning diet? I haven't really tried playing with my diet. What are the recommendations for things to avoid? Is that somewhere on our website already, on your website?
Yes, it is. Well, in December, we had a dietitian to talk to us. I thought she was real good. She talked about
Yes.
the way food propels our bodies, and then how to eat and so forth.
But
I recommend that.
I'm looking for what certain foods may be triggering this, if in fact that's what's happening.
Sugar.
So Bertie, from what all I've experienced, from what all I've looked into, I've found that nightshades in general, so all of the foods that are considered under nightshades, you can look them up. It's a very large list, unfortunately, but general things like tomatoes, potatoes are on those lists, as well as refined foods and sugars typically
Added
are the
sugars.
things that you're looking at. For
Sugar is
agriculture.
sugar is one of the problems.
Yes.
Sugar, mhm.
And
Sugar,
what's
High
the other one?
carbs too, high
I'm sorry?
carbs. High carbs, high carb
High
diet.
carbs and sugar.
Yeah.
high carbs, sugar, nightshades, and for some people, gluten as well.
Yeah. What was the
Would
third
you
item?
please identify nightshade, because some people may not know that
I don't know
reference.
I don't know what that is.
Let me go grab it really quick. I'll be right back. I have a giant list.
Yeah, that
Okay.
was my question. What is nightshades? Is that something I should avoid?
There are certain-
Tomatoes, peppers.
Oh,
Yes, it's a
tomatoes.
very distinct category of foods.
Eggplant.
While we're waiting for her to come back, Brenda, you've had your hand up for a long time. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I've had peripheral neuropathy for more than 10 years. And at times I just wonder why I go to these support groups, but I always learn something new, or I have had an experience that perhaps will help someone else. So I've been taking notes all along. First, I want to thank Judson for all the wonderful things that he posts on Your Feet. And I would suggest that anyone out there who is not a member of Facebook, join Facebook. It's free. You don't have to post your picture. Just don't even bother with that. What it does is give you access to resources like On Your Feet. Judson most recently put on a video that I found very, very helpful at very simple stretches that you can do for peripheral neuropathy. Most of them you can do while you're watching TV, while you're sitting in church. People would never know that you're doing peripheral neuropathy exercises. He has found us so much useful information. And that website is simply called On Your Feet, but you have to go join Facebook to get to it. So thank you, Judson, for your continuing research, trying to find things that help all of us. Secondly, you were talking about diet. The diet that is most frequently recommended for peripheral neuropathy is called the anti-inflammatory diet. You can simply put in Google anti-inflammatory diet, because what we're dealing with is inflammation. And under anti-inflammatory diet, it will tell you which foods to add more of to your diet and which foods to take out of your diet to help your body food not to have the inflammation that is causing your pain. We talked about spinal stenosis. About 8 years ago, the head of surgery at the Nova Fairfax Hospital told me the reason I had numbness in my feet and my ankles was that arthritis had built up in my spinal cord. And that it was the pressure from the arthritis in my spinal cord that was causing my numbness, and that if I would have spinal stenosis surgery, and they also did do a few fusions in my back, that would help with the neuropathy. My surgeon was a neurosurgeon from Johns Hopkins. I came out of the surgery. I went into the surgery with numbness in my feet and ankles, maybe the part of my lower calf, sort of if I was wearing ankle socks. I came out of the surgeon with total numbness from my knees through my feet, which has continued to this day. And I asked the doctor when I came out of surgery, how long does it take to the numbness to go away? And she looked at me and said, well, sometimes it doesn't go away. And I knew then my goose was cooked. And when I went back for my after surgery meeting with the surgeon, he and his PA were looking nervously at each other. I taught school, for many years, so I knew when kids are having a problem, they don't want you to look you in the eye and they're acting very nervous. There's something they don't want you to know. And they were obviously feeling very upset because they had made my neuropathy worse. However, I didn't blame them. They did what they thought was going to be helpful, but it turned out to be a huge problem in my life from having had that surgery. I had not had back pain before that. I did have back pain after the surgery because now the lower part of my spine was fixed, but the upper part of your spine remains flexible. And so you often will have problems then with pinched nerves because the upper part is flexing and it will pinch a nerve. Spine and Pain has wonderful injections that take care of that, but I never would have needed this without that surgery. I also have an extremely good massage therapist who will come to my home, and his rates are reasonable. And when I have problems that aren't going away with medication, I call on him, and he's a fabulous man who comes right to my home. So I'm not a big fan of spinal stenosis. And I think that's it for the notes that I've taken so far, but welcome all the new people, and thanks to all of you for your comments, because I never knew, for example, that gabapentin was processed through the kidneys gland. So thank you for that, because I'm now showing some problems with creatinine and kidneys. And so now, Ricky, I may try to get off the gabapentin and see if some of the things that you've tried, if some other things might help. Because I am noticing that my kidneys are starting to have some difficulty, and I've had gabapentin now for, maybe 8 years, something like that. So thank you for all of you, because every little piece of information that you come out with may be helping someone who has been working with this problem for a long time. So thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Brenda. By the way, Brenda is here in the Northern Virginia area. We try to tell where people are speaking from. Now we have 4 hands raised, so we're going to do them in order. It's Mike, then Rich Davis, Margie White, and then Patrick. Go ahead, Mike. Please unmute.
Okay, the Rebuilder is a expensive form, a specialized form of TENS, TENS.
Right.
One of the limitations of TENS, a regular TENS, which is, by the way, a very effective device for taking your mind off of a source of pain that you can't do anything about. So you can't do anything about the pains that you feel in peripheral neuropathy. You can't stop that signal. Once it gets started in your head and you start focusing on it, then there's nothing physical you can do to your body to make it go away. So what a TENS does is it creates a separate signal that's slightly painful, but just enough that you feel the electrical signal instead of whatever it is that your head is creating from the nerves. And it can be very effective because there is nothing you can do to stop the pain, to stop these signals. The problem is that the signals themselves are not dangerous. You're in no danger from these errant signals from your nerves, or if they're coming from your nerves. You're no danger from those. And what the TENS does says, wait a minute, I had this other signal and I'm no worse off after the TENS stops in 30 seconds. Now, the thing about the TENS is it has little pads. So for instance, if you had a pain in your arm, you could put a pad here, and there's an electrical signal that goes between these areas. And that electrical signal talks to your brain focuses on the electrical signal, and finally it stops after a half hour or something. And you go back and you said, well, wait a minute, there was something here, like a mosquito bite or something else, or a peripheral neuropathy signal. I'm safe, I'm okay. And suddenly the pain is much less. Well, the problem is that if you have a problem on your toes, it's really hard to get the TENS pads to work. So if Rebuilder is effective on your foot, Well, maybe it's sending those signals and doing the same thing as a TENS, because that's what it is. It's technically a TENS. It's doing the same thing, but it's in a place where you can't really apply the pads of a regular TENS. So I think it's probably a legitimate device. It's a lot more expensive than the TENS. You can get a TENS for, I don't know, $50, $60. If it costs $2,000 to buy a rebuilder, or maybe you can get one used on eBay for $100 or $200. Hey, you put it in water, or you put it on the pads, or whatever you do. Hey, maybe that's a good way to use a TENS.
It works.
You have to understand what it's doing. What it's doing is distracting your brain away from a source of irritation that you can't do anything about. And that irritation, that pain that you can't do anything about, is not dangerous. But your brain says this is unusual. Anything unusual must be dangerous. And,
Okay, thank you, Mike. We're going to.
Hey, I need to just tell Mike, though, this is very important what he's talking about. With the rebuilder, it also comes with the pads that you're speaking of, that if I want to use it out of the water, it has pads that I can put anywhere on my body. But the doctor was telling me, since it's my foot, the water helps the TENS or the rebuilder much better. But if I want to use it on my back, on my shoulder, whatever, it has separate pads for that too. But I'm just here to tell you, the water one for your foot, I suggest, because it cost me a little under $1,000 for that one. Okay. And that comes with the foot pads and the pads that you can put anywhere on your body. I'm here to tell you, for me, it is working.
So I would consider buying it.
Yes.
For that reason, because
Sure.
I have tried to
When
use
was
a
the
TENS
company
on my
Rebuilder
toes,
established?
and I couldn't get it to help.
Okay.
Okay, we need to take a break so that everybody can move, because that's so important to us, to keep that movement going and stretch. So we're going to stop for just 5 minutes. When we come back, we'll turn to Rich and Margie, who had their hands up for quite a while now, and anyone else who wants to comment. I know at one point, Chuck, I heard that you might share your information about apple cider vinegar.
I can, right.
So right now, I'm going to ask us to take a 5-minute break, stretch, get a drink, stay mobile, and we'll be back in 5. Spinal cord stimulation.
72, wow.
What? Yeah. Yeah, I got the pillow. It still hurts though. Oh.
Pat, I've got about a minute and 15 seconds left for a 5-minute break.
Okay. I was waiting for the end of the music.
Yeah, it ends about 3.5 minutes. That's I can make it go again if you want.
No, I didn't actually look at my watch, so I'm waiting for somebody to say the 5 minutes is up.
49 seconds to go.
All right.
I would like to make a donation again, but I don't see the link. How do I go about donating?
If you go to the website, which is pnsnnetwork.org, and just when you get there, just look at something that says donate.
Okay.
Click there.
Okay.
And you'll be able to, yeah.
Thanks.
Judd, would you put that in the chat, please? The website? I appreciate that. I think we're going to commence again with this time Rich, followed by Margie and Shauna. Oh, Patrick and Shauna, in that order. So Rich, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Pat. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, 2 or 3 quick things, all quick. First, the question was raised about GABA. Maybe, was that you, Bernie? Raise your hand. Okay, all right, Bernie. So I had a lengthy conversation with my neurologist, since retired from Johns Hopkins, Dr. Kornblath, about gabapentin, because my primary care started me at 300 milligrams a day. And when I got up to Johns Hopkins, had this discussion about the GABA, and what he told me, and I won't forget, he said that, well, 300 is not going to help you much. He said studies, and he did a lot of research in his day. He said that the effectiveness doesn't kick in until 1800 milligrams a day. So spaced out about 3 times a day, maybe a little more at night to help get you sleeping. But then he said upwards, and the number I heard earlier was exactly the number, 3,600. That's what Dr. Kornblath said. And so I don't recall if he said after 3,600 whether there's any further effectiveness, but basically that was the upper limit. So I think the range is, for if you're having some symptoms that are very uncomfortable, you want to start at 1,800, and you might go up to 3,600.
I'm at 2,400 right now.
Maximum.
Yeah,
Very
36.
loud.
That's what he told me. So I'm just sharing that for what it's worth. Other doctors, might have other opinions, but he was a highly respected doctor. So I think that's a reasonable. I think there's a lot of support for that number. There may be variances though.
For 3,600.
Yeah, 3,600 was the upper.
I'm at 24 right now.
Yeah, so I think you're, if that's working for you, I think you're okay.
It's not.
It's not. So you might want to talk to your doctor and see how they feel about taking more.
Especially the timing of the doses as well might be a factor if he's having sleep issues or discomfort at night.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. So the second item, it was back to Ricky. So Ricky, were your symptoms numbness or pain or both? What was it that the rebuilder was addressing for you?
my foot, underneath my foot, I was like walking on glass or pins.
Pain then.
Pain, yes.
Okay, what
Yes.
about numbness? Just
Never-
curious.
Never had numbness.
Lucky you. Well, I
Yeah.
guess
Well,
people who
see,
have, yeah.
Yeah, and see, that's what I was thinking, that maybe I caught mine early before it got too bad, because I didn't waste a lot of time. Soon as I started getting symptoms of the burning in my foot, and all the doctor at the neurologist wanted to do is put me on gabapentin and all that medicine, and I just couldn't even handle 300 milligrams, more or less 1600. So that's when I went to this place, not to take up your time, Living Health Integrative Medicine, where they do things differently.
Sure.
And I changed my diet, I'm using their equipment, and I jumped right on it. So that's why I'm probably
Yeah.
getting some results. So,
Yeah, I haven't found anything that really addresses the numbness issue. Pain is addressable, but you know, maybe I'm better off with numbness than I am pain. But anyway, but thanks for that. And I use the TENS unit. And the way I look at that, it's kind of like this is probably a horrible analogy, but I think it applies. It's sort of like the TENS unit, to Mike's point, is it addresses your pain. It doesn't cure it at all, but it addresses it. It's sort of like an opioid. You know, you're not going to feel the pain, but it's not going to do anything to treat it. The TENS gives you the relief, and sometimes that by itself is nice to have to get you through a day, just to get the relief from a TENS unit, which is non-addictive. So it's better than an opioid in that respect. But yeah, the TENS, I think anything that can make improve your quality of life without causing any adverse side effects, that's always, you know, I think beneficial. And then my last item, I unfortunately was not able to attend the last couple of meetings, and I was online. Pat and Judd, hats off to you guys for both of you are doing a terrific job, as well as others on your leadership team. Will those, I was looking forward to, I think it was the February, will those get posted at some point, those meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. And the March one too.
Yeah, not a problem. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. So I didn't want to sound disgruntled. I'm not.
Thank you for that comment. We could always use help with editing the videos and getting the presentations up and available to the larger public. So if you have any expertise or free time, we would love to have anyone step forward to say that they would help with the editing.
Understood, and thanks again. And I stop here.
Okay. And Margie, it's your turn next, please.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, but I just wanted to share what has helped me with sleep and prescribed by the neurologist, and that is trazodone. And I am knocked out for the night. I'm afraid a fire could burn up the house and I wouldn't even wake up. But it's meant that I can keep my gabapentin level, which still isn't very high, but it can keep it lower during the day. So you might want to check with your doctors about that. Just speaking from my own experience as an alternative. I just wanted to say I really appreciate hearing all these stories about surgeries that maybe could have helped with neuropathy and don't. I don't know if any do, but I had an experience. It wasn't surgery per se, but I had a very huge bulging vein in my right thigh, and I saw a vein doctor, a vascular doctor, I guess, and he recommended venous closure. I saw that one of the side effects was, nerve damage, and he knew about the neuropathy and so on. He said, "Oh, I've never seen nerve damage. No problem. Don't worry." And as soon as the procedure was over, I could feel that there was nerve damage from coming up from my knee up to the site of the incision where he had gone in to burn, to close this vein. And so he said, "Oh, in 6 months, 4 to 6 months, that could be gone." I'm at the 6-month mark and it's not gone. And I just saw him and he kind of patted me on the knee and he said, "It may take up to 2 years."
Oh my.
I found to be very paternalistic, but I'm sharing that in sympathy and pain with people who've tried surgeries and it's not helped and possibly made things worse. So thank you.
Thank you. Could you please put in the name of the correct spelling of that trazodone, if you, on the chat, in the chat?
I will. Mhm.
Help.
It
And-
actually has an O in the middle, trazodone, so I'll put it in.
Okay, thank you. And Patrick,
Thank you.
it's your turn.
Yes, I had a question. When they were talking about diet recommendations, there was a lot of talk about sugar. And I'm already on a low salt diet. And I've been pretty successful with that. I was on Lasix at one time and cut the Lasix down from, they had me at 100 milligrams at one time, all the way down to 20 now. But what I was saying about sugar, is that mostly related to people that have diabetes? In other words, is sugar bad in all situations or most situations with neuropathy, or is it mainly for neuropathy, the problem mostly with neuropathy because of diabetes?
Sugar is a known inflammatory food in general. It is especially inflammatory in people who are diabetic, in people who have autoimmune conditions, and in people who have neuropathy in general.
Okay.
So
That's what I was,
most
that's what I was wondering. I don't have diabetes. That's why I was
Right.
wondering.
So I don't have diabetes. I am not pre-diabetic. I do have a slight insulin resistance. However, the sugar I found the least inflammatory, and I have autoimmune out the window, is stevia, actually. That's the one that I swear by personally. Stevia is the best. Now, the other thing, though, is what's coming out too is some of these artificial sugars are linked to higher stroke risk and higher heart attack risk.
Oh, yeah.
So you just got to be careful, try to avoid sugar other than natural stuff. And that's only if you can tolerate it. Because like I have a condition where I can't tolerate a lot of them.
Well, it's kind of like my cardiologist said, if it tastes good, spit it out.
That's so sad.
I had one other question that had to do with gabapentin.
Yes, go ahead.
And I don't remember who the person was that mentioned it, but at the first part, but basically I'm at 2100 and I was having a lot of issues with side effects at 2700 and was brought down to 2100. And based on the conversation I've heard here, maybe I am thinking maybe I should try to go back up to 2700, maybe even higher. You know, anyway, thank you for the comments, because it's not really a question, so thank you for the comments. But the other question I had about the gabapentin, along with it, now I'm remembering, I've had a lot of people say that they have it helps them get to sleep, and it doesn't seem to do that for me at night. It does during the day, though. I'll fall asleep during the day as one of the side effects, but then can't go to sleep at night, even with the higher dose of gabapentin.
Anyone have a response for Patrick?
Sleep during the day?
Doze off. Doze off. In other words, you're trying to concentrate and you're just going to sleep.
And I really don't mean to make light of it. I think it's whatever works for you. And gabapentin, for some people, they can't take any because of the side effects. Other people, I'm fortunate. Some days I've gone up to the 3600. I'm at about half of that, though, on a regular daily basis. But there's some days worse than others. My problem is when I'm sitting here at this computer, I do get up and stretch. I can't sit for extended periods. I went out last night with some friends. We sat at a comedy show. I was sitting in one of those hard chairs, and after about 20 minutes, I was in real pain. I don't have pain from my PN symptoms, but if I have to sit in a chair for more than 30 minutes, that's borderline torture to me. So, everybody's got different levels of pain and is affected by the different drugs differently. So it's whatever works for you.
To follow up on exactly what you just stated there, my problem is almost, except for I can't stand a hard chair either, my problem is almost exactly the opposite. If I'm not moving, I have less pain.
Oh, wow.
If I'm moving, I'm in pain. I burn and ache and I get these sharp knife-like pains in my feet and legs. But if I'm absolutely still, it helps.
Wow.
Wow, that's so different. I'm at the other end of that spectrum.
So am
That's
I.
exactly what I was
Yeah,
hearing. just the
interesting. That's
opposite.
interesting.
Right. It just reinforces this whole notion of PN being so individualized. We have Shannon next and then Brenda.
So I
Thank
have
you.
a couple different points I want to touch on real quick. The first, Margie, with me actually personally with trazodone, I had a really bad experience where I had a side effect of extreme grogginess that lasted basically until the next dose, and I was only taking it once a day. Now I don't know whether that's because of just a weird side effect or what, but that's me personally. I also did have the same issue of having immediate nerve damage following surgery and then continued nerve damage. I'm at about a year and a half out now, and it's better now. It's not great. It's with a lot more strengthening. I've done better, but I've had some concurrent injuries due to that nerve damage. Patrick, I have a lot of your same experiences. I have small fiber neuropathy. I do actually have multiple types of neuropathy, but small fiber is one of the ones I have. Mine is from autoimmune causes, but it especially started after a major injury. In regards to the whole idea of movement, yes, I agree that to a certain extent, movement helps my pain. I do enjoy working out for the sake of pain relief. However, if I overdo it, then I'm going to cause myself more pain in the long run. So it's a balancing act in that regard. Regarding alleviation of pain, I unfortunately have a bunch of other rare conditions with it, so I can't have Tylenol. NSAIDs, I'm basically immune for the most part to oxycodone. It's very ineffective for me. I'm allergic to morphine. So my options are going to the ER to get fentanyl, having oxycodone, which is awful. And personally, I don't want to do opiates. To each their own. I think if it helps you, you do what works for you. My go-to has been cannabis. I swear by it. That's what I go with. I do have gabapentin for specifically, I actually use it to help with neuropathic itchiness. I haven't found gabapentin effective for anything else for me personally. But if I have that deep itchy, like you can't scratch it and itch it, it is like in there, that's that nerve itch, gabapentin every time, all the time. Or if it is where I have a pinched nerve, that's the other time that I'm going to take it because it just helps so much when that hurts.
I just have to say I'm on Percocet. I'm not proud to say it. I wish I wasn't. I'd love to be off of that stuff, but it's the only thing that really will knock the pain out for me. And it's just interesting to listen to everybody's got a different thing that works for them.
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing. And whatever. I've been learning a lot here today.
And then on top of it, I do follow diet. So for a while I did the FODMAP diet, which is great about reducing those types of sugars. Peggy, regarding cannabis, I've done a little bit of everything. Tried a little bit of everything. Personally, I found for ease of access, for sake of potency, I've been using carts. What I currently have here is 2.5 gram Stoner brand carts, which is a local, it's like $50 in my area, which is not bad for our area. Without a med card, I do meet multiple med cards. I'm also 21, just to clarify.
Well, Oregon is real easy to get.
Oregon's much easier than Illinois. Let's put it that way. And Illinois is it's been a whole thing. It's at least the price has gone down from 300.
Virginia and that whole, but we do have a question about what kind of cannabis tincture, what dose?
So for being awake, for doing things, for when you feel energized, I am going for a sativa of any type.
I'm sorry, you're
Echoing.
I'm not sure why it's that way. There we go. Let's
Give
see
us
if
a
that
backup
fixes-
now.
If I am wanting more pain relief and to be awake, I don't know who's echoing. It's not mine at this point.
Someone
You bet,
else
you
has-
bet.
Oh, Patrick, it sounds like it might be. Does that fix it? Yep. Okay. Nope.
All right.
Can you type it into the chat?
Oh, it's not me.
No, it's not her. Judd, if everyone Can we mute everyone and see if we can figure out who it is?
There we go. I should have muted everybody. All right, perfect. All right. So yeah, the current one I'm using is the Stoner. It's 2.5 gram. It's the cart. Now regarding types, it depends on what you're trying to use. So flower is going to be your actual, what you think of it when you think of weed. It's the plant. It looks like the head of the plant. That is going to need to be smoked. You're going to have to use something for it. I find that it's not very easy because you're also going to have to clean it. And when you have neuropathy at a certain point, if your joints don't want to work with you too, it's kind of a pain in the butt. So that's not for me personally, but some people have found that super effective. However, you can also bake it right into food if you want to do that. You can do the same thing with any type of oil or dab concentrate. You can bake it in, make your own edibles. You can also take a dab concentrate and smoke it on a slightly different rig as well. Then there's things like carts, which is what I've got right now. This is technically the same idea as a dab concentrate or an oil. That's what's inside of this. This one's kind of low, unfortunately, right now. That's where that line is. This one actually has an adjustable flow meter, but rechargeable, very easy. I inhale and it works. There's edibles in general, which is just food with it baked in or cooked in some form. And then there are tinctures as well. I don't personally actually have any efficacy for tinctures, but that's because I have some weird other things complicating. In regards to dose, I cannot say a dose for anybody because dose is dependent on your tolerance, how your body reacts. So what I found in general, sativas are going to keep you awake, let you do things, make you want to do things and get up. It's kind of the thing I do to go do dishes, which is the thing I hate most. Hybrid, I found it depends on what is the dominant strain, whether it's more of a sativa or an indica. That's going to give you more of that effect, but it's also typically more effective in pain relief. The thing I found most effective for pain relief is going to be an indica strain of some kind, and those are also likely going to put you to sleep, especially the higher up you go. If you have too much, straight CBD will help reduce the psychological effects. And if you are having any sorts of vomiting issues, capsaicin, despite it being a neuropathy aggravant, can also help with reducing those symptoms.
We're all on mute, so if you want to talk, be sure
I
you
think
do.
what I'm hearing is it would be very important to have counseling and some support from whoever your vendor is. Because in Virginia, this is wide open. You have one recreational plant that's allowed for personal use. You really don't have access. Judge, does this mean I'm the problem with the mic?
Yes, Pat.
But I have done nothing different.
I think Judge, every time somebody talks, Judd's speaker starts. So it's something on Judd's system. If you have two sessions going, Judd?
He says no.
That's
Okay.
That's the end of my suggestions.
Well, it may be the end of the echoing.
It stopped.
Thank you, Shauna. Next is Brent. I'm sorry to keep moving, but we really want to get as many people an opportunity to speak as we can. Brenda is next, then Rich, and I think Bernie has said he wants to, indicated he had his hand up. Brenda, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm particularly concerned with Bernie and Effie and people that are having a lot of pain. Some very basic things, very simple things often help pain a great deal. I used to have, and you may be familiar with this kind of symptom, I used to have a cramping where my toes would start twisting and then my arch would hurt and my ankle would twist out of control of my body. And then the pain would go to my calf and then up into my inner thigh. And I realized there was no sense crying over this pain because that wasn't going to help at all. And I'd be up walking and holding onto a cane and the footboard of my bed, walking these cramps out. I've learned that if you keep your legs extra warm, whether that means with a heating pad at night, there's a heating pad that's made for backs that's longer than a standard heating pad, or an electric blanket, or just putting an extra throw or blanket over you from the waist down to keep the legs and feet warm is one thing that helps. Bed socks to keep the feet warm is another thing that helps. Gentle stretching exercises before you go to bed to stretch those muscles out and help them relax is helpful. For some people, for example, this morning I woke up with fierce burning in the tips of my feet. So I immediately rolled over onto my side. I use a knee pillow because for some reason, if I'm sleeping on my side, this pain doesn't happen. But if I'm sleeping on my back, the covers touch the tips of my toes and it sets the pain off. So I try to keep on my side, and that pillow does help keep on my side to keep that pain usable. Some people find that there's a support you can buy on Amazon that will elevate your bed covers and keep them off of your feet. So some of these basic things are things that some of you may be very familiar with, and some of you may not have thought of before. Also, I'm taking a combination of gabapentin with amitriptyline. The combination has a synergetic effect. And so adding the and of course, you would have to go through a doctor, preferably a neurologist, but adding a second drug along with the gabapentin makes the gabapentin much more effective. And in my case, it was the amitriptyline. A little amitriptyline helped a lot. And I wish we had Helene here today because Helene has a special mixture that she said that she takes that has always been pretty foolproof. And it may be, some of you may be unaware that we also have a website where you can go on and find resources. And I think Helene has put that information in the resources of the combination of drugs that help her. So as someone said, every one of us is individual. What helps one person doesn't help another. But some of these basic things like keeping the legs relaxed, keeping the legs warm, keeping the feet warm, keeping the covers from disturbing the feet are all things that seem to help all of us. So you have to keep searching like we all do. And I appreciate all the information that everyone shares. It's why we need a community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rich, your turn, please.
Sure, very quick. Thank you, Shanna, for your comments on the cannabis. I thought Phil Roach, one of our members, did an excellent job with a fact sheet, an extensive fact sheet. And it's on the website. I was just confirming last May 7. If you go to the content, the meetings, prior meetings on the website for Peripheral Neuropathy Support Network, you can get to that. And he did a really good job on this fact sheet of just explaining, it was in layman's terms, but he also got into some detail on what ingredients to look for. Shanna was talking about, you might be looking for something different that affects the pain or whatever, doesn't put you to sleep or, allows you, Phil talked about what he might do in the morning versus in the evening, because some of this can be quite, to using a college word, soporific, putting you to sleep. If you take this stuff, during the day, you may not want to do that. So just take a look at that fact sheet if you want further information on medical cannabis.
Thank you for reminding us, Rich, that is posted. And we can find, as we keep talking, the PNSN network website, which Judd and Mike have done an amazing job of keeping going, has almost all of our past meetings. So you can find, if you use the search function, you should be able to find it, or go to calendar for past meetings. Mike, go ahead, please. Mike?
Sorry. I just wanted to comment about, there's some videos out there that, one that especially impressed me was a doctor talking about GABA. He was talking about various medications, and one of the points he made was that it takes time for you to notice the effect of something like gabapentin. And you should always take it for a while. It might take several months for it. All these things, what these medications do, they either do something to just prevent the messages getting through to your brain, or, and I don't know how gabapentin works, or they do something to reassure you. So for instance, there was just conversation about keeping warm at night. When you get under the covers and get your feet warm, you just feel more comfortable, but more important, you feel safer. What pain does is it says you're in danger. You have some dangerous thing. That's what pain is about. That's what pain is designed to do, is to get you to do something about there's something dangerous out there. That's the only reason we have pain. We have pain to get you to respond, to go do something. So if I'm cold, I get warmer and I feel safer. And that should help any sort of discomfort you have, any sort of sense of in some kind of danger, and should help. And that's, so the comment was about spinal cord stimulators. Basically, they're like a TENS. They're sending another signal to your body that is, it's safe. The doctor put it in there. It's safe. It's overriding whatever signals you were getting or are getting from these disease nerve endings. And it's designed to make you feel safer. I am not in danger. I don't have to do anything. I can go on with my life. Rich talked about getting a big enough sense of gabapentin so that you get on and do the important things in life. And that's what pain control is all about. It's getting to the point where you're not focused on these signals, but if there are signals, there may not be any signals. We don't really know. But so that you go on and get on with life. And so the spinal cord stimulators are essentially, they're doing the same thing. They're sending an alternative message to you. And it's designed to get you to the point so you don't focus on this, whatever this is that's in your body that's making you think I'm in danger, and telling you, no, I'm not in danger. I can go on and do other things.
Thank you, Mike. Brenda and Effie both have commented on exercise, particularly Tai Chi and water aerobics, that have helped them as an alternative to medications. I think everyone is searching for what works specifically for them. Peggy, go ahead, please. Peggy Barton.
Yeah, I guess this is the time to talk about things, open chat. I am more frustrated and more nervous than ever because I obviously have small fiber neuropathy, and it seems the more tests they do, the more idiopathic it becomes. And I recently had another test for prediabetes, negative. So everything's been negative. And meantime, this is spreading like wildfire up. It's all the way to my waist on both sides now. And so the only thing they can find out is that I have a low immune system. 3 of my numbers are pretty low, the IgM or whatever they are. And so I guess they're trying to figure out if that's related to having small fiber, because sometimes CVID, common variable inflammatory whatever it is, CVI something, it can cause inflammatory neuropathy and cause small fiber. So I'm wondering if anybody here has CVID or knows about it, and at what point do you get the IVIG infusions that are immunoglobulins infused into you? So I'm just wondering if anyone has ever had those and why they had it, what it was diagnosed for, what it was treated for. And that's where I am, trying to find out about these IVIGs, and if anyone has ever had CVID, the common variable inflammatory neuropathy, whatever,
No.
those numbers.
Okay.
I have not. I have some weird. I had some weird things going on with immunoglobulins and low white cells or something in the bone marrow. And I'm still trying to dig into that. Everybody's told me so far that's not an issue for me, but I think it might be.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. Does anyone, Rebecca Barnes, would you like to respond? My doctor is going to offer IVIG.
Yeah, so I have been through, multiple specialists like most people. I started off with an ENT, and they sent me to an MS neurologist, and they sent me to a neuromuscular neurologist. And they basically are like, we don't know exactly what's going on with you, which has been what I've got for the last 12 years of my life. And so we just think this is idiopathic. We're going to probably offer you IVIG when my skin punch biopsy comes back, whether it comes back positive or negative. I also have low white blood cell count. They don't know why. It's kind of been that way for a while. I also have mild fibrosis in my bone marrow. I had a bone marrow biopsy. And I have stage 4 endometriosis. I just had my 3rd surgery. So it's just like there's so many different things going on. It's just very complex. And at this point, they're just throwing whatever at me. But unfortunately, I most likely have multiple chemical sensitivity. I have reactions to every medication. I have reactions to candles. I can't walk through the grocery store without having a GI flare. And so unfortunately denied disability, which very common. But they did offer the IVIG. I've read up about it. For some people, it really has helped them a lot. And for other people, it's caused more issues. And I think it's just like any medication. It's kind of a guess. Is it going to help me or hurt me? And you really don't know until you do it. So I don't know if I'll take that or not. I was offered Flexeril for like spasms, muscle spasms, because I get in so much pain from the neuropathy that like everything kind of tenses up. I was a massage therapist for over 13 years, and I know that massage is like really great for things like this, but it's not paid for by the doctor. So, there's a lot of alternative treatments that I would be more than happy to take that my insurance doesn't pay for and I can't work. So, but I hope that helps some. Sorry.
So they're offering you infusions for immunodeficiency, even though they haven't proven any immunodeficiency in your numbers. Is that right?
Yeah, I basically have, I'm in remission of Graves' disease. I have celiac disease. I have numerous unknown autoimmune diseases that they simply don't have a name for them yet. They don't know what's causing it. I have a lot of fibrosis in my body. Like I said, it's in my bone marrow. I have retroperitoneal fibrosis in my abdomen, the endometriosis. So lots of different things that point toward that. I went to a rheumatologist. It was not a good experience. She basically was like, oh, I see you're seeing a neuromuscular doctor, so we'll just let them take care of it. So she refused to diagnose me with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. And I'm constantly tired. And then, of course, like I said, denied the disability because all the doctors were like, oh, just see the next specialist and the next specialist. And all of my medical records are like, she's a complex patient. We've run these tests. She may be seronegative. We're not for sure. So just try some gabapentin, try some, muscle relaxers. Here, have tramadol. Well, I can't take any of it. I can't take almost any of this medication because of the side effects. Like I have migraines that may last for days and days and days. And there's no treatment. And it is frustrating, but it's just the way that it is. It's helpful to meet other people that also have these things, but basically when the doctors don't know what's wrong, eventually one of them will be like, hey, I don't know that this will work, but let's try IVIG, let's try these infusions, or you know, and I mean, and for that I'm grateful because at least someone's offering something, because I literally went probably about 9 years with no doctor with a treatment plan. There was no diagnoses and there was no treatment plan. It was, she's complex, we're not for sure what's wrong, on to the next.
And
Has
that's,
anybody told you about or said anything about mast cell activation syndrome?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
I have MCOS.
Okay.
I have
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
I went to Vanderbilt to their allergy clinic for the MCAS part, and they used to diagnose it, but for them and I guess Mayo, they're starting to have issues with using it as a diagnosis. I saw Dr. Dworsky, and that's who my friend sees as well, and he basically was like, you know, there's not really a treatment for it, and we really just don't give out that diagnosis much anymore. It's a highly controversial topic. But from everything I've read, as well as with my friend who, she did like the 24-hour urine, it has to be kept on ice, and the testing. When I went, they did regular testing and for allergies. And I tried to explain to him that like, it doesn't necessarily mean if it comes back that you have, if it all comes back, oh, you don't have any. It's like, no, it's not like an allergic reaction. It's different. I can't explain it.
Looks like Shauna, would you like to respond? You've been enthusiastically shaking your head.
Oh yeah, I have MCOS, and my allergy list is over 50 different foods. It's a couple different environmental. Luckily, I don't have a lot of environmental. There are treatments to actual MCOS reactions. So what they're telling you, yes, that's what's known, but it's because it's so minimally known. Unfortunately, all dysautonomia type conditions. So autonomic neuropathy, which I have, POTS, which I have, MCOS, which I have, and a few other things that are in there, also which I have, by the way, are very under-researched and are just now becoming more researched due to the prevalence of post-COVID and long COVID POTS and things like that.
Right.
So in regards to treatments for an MCOS reaction, when I'm having a reaction, the first thing I do is I take either, well, I'm immune to Benadryl, unfortunately. So I take hydroxyzine, which is it's very similar. It's the same exact idea. It's an H2 receptor antagonist. So it attacks antihistamines. After that, I also will usually take vitamin C because that's also been shown to help. Heat has also been shown to help.
Yeah.
So hot showers. If I know I'm eating a food that I shouldn't have because it usually triggers a reaction, I will sometimes take it and eat it in a hot bath, and nobody can judge me because you know what? This is how I'm coping. That's one of the great things about being in a group of people who suffer with this disease, is you guys know you got to do some weird things to cope. Additionally, I have an inhaler for when it's respiratory issues. Bye, Anne. If it is at that point anaphylactic, then I do have to EpiPen. There have been cases where I have been anaphylactic. In regards to testing, it's very hard to test. Now, if you've got MCOS, they're more recently coming out seeing that there's potential for it to have autoimmune cases. Now, you've also got Graves' disease. You've also got a few other things that say that that's likely autoimmune in some fashion. I get you on the complex patient thing. I get you on the seronegative. I have seronegative lupus, but multiple types of lupus, the kind that end me up in the ER pretty regularly. So just saying, I 100% get you. I hope to talk to you more later. In regards to whoever was speaking before, because I'm so bad at remembering, I'm quickly finishing up. Idiopathic wise, if you're already having some abnormal testing, there might be something that, isn't diagnosable yet. There might be something that is underknown. There might be something that is under research. There might be something that has more recently been named or is under, not prescribed, underdiagnosed. So yes, idiopathic doesn't always mean that there isn't a cause. It might mean that the cause is just not understood well enough by our current system. And I hope that you find whatever treats you soon.
Thank you, Shauna. And we're going to be wrapping up fairly soon. Glenn, though, has had his hand up, and I think he probably has a response to Peggy and Rebecca. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and actually a few other people as well, sort of to sum this all up. I threw this into the chat, but what I can say, and this comes from extensive experience spending time at Weill Cornell up here in New York, Basically, IVIG is recommended for people who have definitive evidence of CIDP, chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy, on nerve conduction or EMG studies. However, there are people who are normal on those who still have autoimmune neuropathies. It really does take a savvy doctor to go to bat with you on this. But what I wanted to do is I included a link in the chat to Norman Latov, who's probably the world's leading expert on autoimmune neuropathies at Cornell, and his white paper with Quest Diagnostics that involves most of the serological tests that they still use there to determine autoimmunities. A lot of them are for unusual antibodies to components of peripheral nerve, some of which were actually discovered at Cornell. If one is having autoimmune type symptoms, one should get a very extensive workup for this. So one of the things we say over there is that you tend to be a lot more idiopathic in a regular doctor's office than you do in an academic research center. About a third of people with neuropathy are still called idiopathic, but when you're at a major center, it's maybe goes down to a fifth or a sixth. There's simply much more extensive testing that can be done. And to actually continue that just for a moment, people who are having problems with bone marrow, if they have low white cell counts and stuff, another batch of tests that's on there is they should have an immunofixation electrophoresis to check for monoclonal gammopathies. Basically, this is called MGUS. It's a precursor condition to certain blood cancers, although about 2/3 of people with this condition do not progress to those, but it is absolutely associated with cross reactivities and causing neuropathies. So I tell people also, if you're having that situation, let's see if you have any rogue antibodies, any monoclonals running around, see if you can get them to give you an IFE, an immunofixation electrophoresis. All these tests are listed in that link, by the way.
Okay, thank you. Glenn, if you would if you are comfortable putting your email in the chat, those who have response to those specific conditions or have a question about those specific conditions, Glenn is an amazing resource. Shauna might want to put her name and email in the chat if she's comfortable doing that. If you have questions directly, or you can join in the overtime, which we're going to go to at 4 o'clock, if you are interested in continuing the discussion in any way other than through email, or if you have the opportunity to stay a little longer and wish to. I'm going to do a bit of wrap up now, only in terms of announcements for events and information that you might want to pursue. First of all, I want to say a huge shout out to Judd Vaughn. Judson keeps that website up to date, current, and we can't appreciate his work enough. We can't thank him enough for the work that he puts in doing that for us. I would hope that you would take advantage of this information and the resource as it is. If you have questions, Judd, if you want to put your email in the chat, if people are having trouble finding information, you can always also write to me at leader@dcpnsupport.org with follow-up questions. I wanted to make sure that people knew that there are other support groups meeting. The Bethesda Chevy Chase Maryland group is meeting on April 20th. They meet on the third Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock. And they will be hearing from two groups, one called Neighbor Force and the other called Seniors Helping Seniors. These are two groups that are working for pay. They aren't volunteer groups, but for pay to help people who are trying to age in place, those who are trying to remain at home rather than going into assisted living or even a continuous care community. So they will be talking about the services they provide, how you can reach them, how you can contract with them. They do some very basic things like driving you to doctor appointments, but they also do things like nailing the shutter loose on your at your house when you can't climb a ladder anymore. They also have home healthcare aides set up, of course, for medication help or dispensing even. So that is the context, and we will be having them speak at our May meeting. So you can choose your April 20th for the evening program at 7 o'clock, or you can join us for a repeat performance at our May, I think it's May 6th, if I'm remembering, let's see. Yeah, May 6th meeting. It will be directed to aging in place and what services are available to you. Now, those are specific to Virginia and Maryland, but there are probably similar groups that you can tap into your locale. Let me make sure, Joanne, have you been monitoring the chat? Is there anything that I've missed that people need to still ask? And while we're waiting for Joanne to answer, Glenn, will you please bring us up to date on the Western Neuropathy Association support group meetings?
Yes, we are going to have our regular online schedule, which is 3 times a month. Basically, the way we try and do these is the second Saturday of the month, the third Wednesday of the month, and the fourth Saturday of the month, basically, so we don't interfere with this meeting. The next meeting will be April 8th. And it will be, and I have to make sure I get this right because we get people from all 4 time zones now. It's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, noon Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific. The one on the third Wednesday, which is going to be this time the 19th, is a little bit earlier in the day. We normally do that at 1 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific. And then the fourth one of the month, which is then going to be right at the end of the month. It's going to be, let's see, is that the 29th? Yes. The 29th is going to be, again, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 12 Mountain, and 11 a.m. Pacific. The easiest way to actually get on the mailing list so you can get all the Zoom codes, although we try and keep them the same each month, is either to go to pnhelp.org, which I threw into the chat. You can also email me. My email is also in the chat. It's glentaj@yahoo.com. You can also, our coordinator of the groups is Catherine Stenzel. Her email is klstenzel@hotmail.com, and I'll throw that in as well. Any one of these 3 ways will get you the material that you need. We love to have people come in. We try and do the same thing where we have newbies speak first, and then it gets really rollicking. Usually lasts 2 hours or until everybody wants to leave.
All right, thank you, Glenn, for bringing us up to date. I think that covers, there is a Pittsburgh group meeting, but I'm not sure of their focus for the April meeting. It would be on April the 19th at 6:30. So if you have interest in support groups such as these, most of them are doing the open discussion like today's. Some are doing speakers or alternating. You probably can find a group that meets your day and time with the myriad of groups that are going on. And we're so grateful to leaders everywhere who are willing to spend the time to organize and keep these types of information sharing going. Judd, have I forgotten anything that you can think of? And have I also, Joanne, missed anything in the, oh, I didn't see one. Go ahead, Joanne.
I think really you've covered everything in the chat. I'd like to, like if you could tell people how they can access the chat after the meeting to get all this information.
And is it saved?
Before I do the save factor, there's Chuck Barnhart. I would like to recognize him because he has had experience recently with apple cider vinegar that has been life-changing. Go ahead, Chuck, please.
I discovered by accident that taking a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar after lunch for general health reasons has also eliminated the need to take 1,200 milligrams of alpha lipoic acid at night before bed. And that was just done to settle my feet down, but now the apple cider vinegar has done that for me. And it still continues to this day since about the end of February. Although, as I have told some of you before, in another meeting, I may have to take my alpha lipoic acid this summer and spring as I get more active, but so far so good.
Excellent.
And I was diagnosed with a mild case of small fiber neuropathy in 2016 by one of the neurologists at Johns Hopkins. And, you know, I've heard it again today. You know, there's something to it, but they just don't know what yet for me.
Did
Oh,
did
the
you say
apple-
you're taking it for your feet?
No, I took it for general health and it helps my feet.
Your feet with what, pain?
That weird nerve feeling that you experience. It's not, and I'm not in much pain, to be honest. A lot of pins and needles and burning at times. And at night, a little spot burning, but it's enough. It's eliminated enough that I can get to sleep.
Okay.
And Rebecca asked, do you use Bragg's? And you made a point of telling me that, please, the mother.
With the mother, you got to have that mother thing in it. And it's what?
Unfiltered.
Bacteria and enzymes and things like that.
And Shauna, you mentioned kombucha.
Yeah, kombucha, yeah. For me, that would help with the GI equivalent. Instead of helping with like my feet nerves, it helped a lot with my GI nerves. And it was just whatever amount I could tolerate in the mornings back when I could have kombucha.
There's a website called Sweet Trip, SWEETTRIP. I found it by accident. There's nothing proven about this. It's whatever works for you and me in this case. And be sure and rinse your mouth out because it's very acidic and it can take away your tooth enamel.
And how do you drink it? You don't drink the tablespoon, you put it
No,
in.
I
some-
put it 8 ounces of water.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
8
knew-
ounce and drink a small amount of water to clean out your esophagus. Just in case.
So water afterwards.
Water afterwards, yes.
And Sweet Trip.
Sweet Trip, yeah, it's a very hard website to find. Oh, well, no, it's not, but the information on neuropathy is hard to find. But I found it by mistake a month ago or so.
Okay, but Rebecca's putting up a warning. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yes, right. And watch out, I'm on blood thinner, so it may affect your blood thinning. And so let your doctor know.
Hello,
Yes.
I want to send a quick message to Patrick. I put some information up on the chat for Patrick, but listening to Patrick, I think one of his problems that he really should focus on is his diet. And if because I think I seen him drinking a soda, and I think Shauna was saying that to him early, that he really needs to cut out the added sugar. And one of the places I get my food from to help, I don't eat it every day, but it helps me substitute what else I eat for as healthy, is called Top Chef. And they have specialty diets for people, and I'm on their paleo diet, and it really helps. So if Patrick was to change his diet, really focus, get a nutritionist. We had a wonderful nutritionist on this platform a few months ago. And if you really change your diet and stay away from that added sugar, I read everything I buy now. If it has added sugar in there, put it back. If you do those things, maybe we can get it, because I'm hearing too many people saying one thing that's really concerning me with everyone. Too many people is dependent on medicine. And that's the problem. That medicine to me, especially that gabapentin, I would like for somebody to answer this real fast for me. With taking that medicine, you're not dealing with the root problem, you're just dealing with the symptoms for a minute. How do you get away from the symptoms and deal with the root problem? If
They
anyone
don't
can answer
know.
that.
The docs don't know.
See, that's why I got involved with the integrative medicine, because they are doing things much different. Insurance doesn't cover it, but it takes you away, because I felt that the neurologists I'm dealing with, all they want to do is put you on the medicine and then go on about your business. So Patrick, something to think about.
Thank you for that observation. And at this point, I will be officially closing the meeting. However, with a huge thank you. I thought it was very informative today. I thought I learned so much, even notes now that I'm going to research, and that's always a plus. I would like to make sure that everyone had a chance to speak who wanted to. Is there anyone's hand up that I've missed, or anyone who would like to say something who was not recognized earlier in the meeting?
Just quickly, how do we save chat?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Judd, please.
Mhm.
Judd's going to explain it.
Oh, Judge.
Am I echoing?
You're
No.
fine.
Oh, how about that? Okay, all of a sudden it cured itself. Okay, to save your chat. You remember at the first of the meeting, we talked about where to go to see chat. If you go there now, on my screen, it's on the right-hand side, and there are 3 little dots, horizontal dots, known as the ellipse. Go there and click on that, and the first thing you should see is Save Chat. Save Chat will automatically create a file of all the comments that have been made. It's a text file. You ought to be able to open it in anything, Word, Pages, anything. And then you can format it to your liking or save it however you like. Also, I'm saving the chat as well, and I'll reformat it in a little more attractive manner, I guess you'd say. And we'll put it on the website, and then you can get to it that way. And the way you get to it on the website is you just go to, up at the top, it'll say events. It's the second item in the top menu on the website. And then it says past meetings, and then it'll say the April meeting. That won't be done for about 2 weeks, but I'll get it up there. And if you really want the notes, I'm at tech@dcpnsupport.org. Just write me and I'll send you your own copy. So that's several ways to do that.
Excellent. And for people, now I'm
No, okay, I'll shut my.
There you go. For people who save it, they ask, where does it get saved to? It's saved, as I understand it, you have Zoom has created a folder of Zoom meetings, and you find your Zoom folder and you rename the chat. That's important, because if you save every chat from every Zoom meeting, you won't know which is what. So I just rename it with PNSN support April 1st, and then I can find the information. But that's what Judd was referring to earlier about taking off the names and just putting PG for me or MW for Margie, rather than having it on the website available to everyone who said what. But if that matters to you, he does, if you want to wait for that week or two, give him a break, 2 weeks to get it out, that would be very helpful. Rebecca, there is a place, what is your last comment? Sorry. Modify Health.
Yeah, there is a these are so expensive, those different food meals, but I know, like, when I'm so exhausted, sometimes I know it's bad, but like I just won't eat because I'm just too tired. But with this, I think it comes out to be like $7 a meal or something, but like it's like salmon and cabbage with sweet potatoes and it's all low FODMAP. So it's like a anti-inflammatory diet, if you're celiac. And I learned about it because my nutritionist gave me, I haven't got the app because it's like $7 a month or I don't know something, but it's from Monash University in Australia, and they've come up with like a complete low FODMAP diet thing. And this place is kind of endorsed there. Exactly. And anyway, they have you can find these promo codes for like 40 and 50% off, because the meals are normally like $12 or $13, but I think I got 8 meals for $50, which, anyway, if you can swing it. It's, you know, it helped me, and all the food is safe, which is big because I have so many food allergies.
Excellent. All right, thank you, everyone. As you can see, Judd has put up the PNSN overtime. Anyone who is interested in staying a bit longer for further discussion or ask questions of someone else in the group, please feel free. We will check back periodically. Judd and I are not going to stay on, but we will check back periodically. And when you're finished talking, we'll be able to close down the meeting officially at that point. Thanks, everyone. Hope to see you on May 6th when we will be talking about aging in place. Bye. Judd, do you have a question? Oh, he's just saying goodbye. All right, thank you.
I will say, despite the person who said that there's no treatments or that they don't know any, like the doctors don't know anything, it's not that, it's that it's so hard with how our healthcare system is. Like, nobody's willing to devote the amount of time and attention necessary to each individual case, and neuropathy is so specific to each individual case. So like in my case, because of the medical knowledge and understanding that I have, I was able to look into my stuff and spend the time and work with my doctors and say,